Daniel Giamario here with Naraya, and we are going to bring to you some latest information about the Callanish Lunar Standstill event. Now, see, for many months, this has been presented, and the literature on it has basically been saying that, oh yeah, it's sold out, and we have a really long waiting list. Well, it turns out over the last number of weeks, for a variety of reasons, we actually do have openings. Yes, a variety of different kinds of openings. And in fact, so that means we're letting you all know this, that there is still a chance, if you want to have this once in a lifetime experience at the 2024 Lunar Standstill event when the moon walks on the land. So this, we're going to bring to you here a short video, which I'm going to do a narration of. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But I also wanted to discuss another issue, just so you know, what are we doing for a week there? You know, is it just the full moon walking across the stones, as if that wasn't incredible enough? It turns out that whole area, there's about 20 different stone circles, and they're all oriented toward this area of the land, which is called the Old Woman of the Moors, the Cailleach. This is 7,000 years old, and every day we're going to be having adventures on the land. Every day we'll have a morning meeting to share. Most evenings, except for the evenings that we're out to see the moon walk on the land, and there'll be a few nights that we go out late into the evening to watch the moon go across the stones. The other evenings, I mean, in addition to the fact we're going to have these phenomenal meals at the little boutique hotel that we're taking over, we have all the rooms, we have the whole thing, is that there's entertainment. We have actually, we have guest speakers, a speaker from Finland who's going to actually, Ville, who's going to be telling us about this backstory prior to the Swedish takeover of their history, about ancient Finland history. And then we also have this a remarkable friend of mine from Portugal who's going to be sharing her research about what happened when the people came up from the Mediterranean and went to Western Ireland and went into the Hebrides back at the early days of the Neolithic time when they built the stone circles. So those are at least two things. We may even have yet another friend of mine be there to tell us more about the Bavarian pre-patriarchal mysteries. So this is going to be the evening for entertainment. Also, most of the time when we have these all-school gatherings, we have one night for people to share. It's like I hate to use this expression, but it's like a talent show kind of thing, but it's really not about how good you are, it's how much fun you want to have. You know, singing songs or telling stories and that kind of thing. We'll have like an evening for that. So with no further ado, let's take a look at about 7 minutes of what the main place is where the moon walks on the land. And I'm going to give a little bit of narration, as you'll see.
All right, I would like to add some further ado here before we go to the video. Sure. Obviously, this is the TOTAMS once in a year annual gathering. So as we will hear in a moment, and you go deeper into that, Daniel, the Callanish site can be likened, or the gatherings that were happening there, to a Neolithic Woodstock. So this is going to be our TOTAMS Woodstock. And as I last year for the first time attended the annual gathering and another live event since the one we had in Faywood Hot Springs, I just want to really add that this is a very heartful gathering, and how special it is, how rare it is these days to have these in-person gatherings. We are lacking communion amongst human beings. We are lacking getting together and doing things together, and therefore amplifying our individual intentions for this great turning of the ages. And that really despite all the great magic and fun around that. And I personally have been to Callanish. I love that place, and I so look forward to go and visit once more in the wonderful, great good company of TOTAMS people. But that to me is really the essence of this whole gathering, and everything else, I say, for me, is added bonuses. So, and the added bonuses of this particular place are huge. Also, I just found out that obviously the Callanish III, the main site there, is sitting on a very, very strong node of energy lines, earth energy lines. So that, and these energy lines are being powered up at the moment through the solar influx, the plasma influx, everything that's coming in from the cosmos and interacting with the energies, the magnetic field of Mother Earth, and therefore also with our own energies and magnetic fields. So that's my further ado. And now let's go to the video. Hang on. I'll try to get this tech going here.
I'm going to be doing a second time narration on this. This was a few years ago. A friend of mine who had gone up there, actually Andy of Tifa, and we weren't able to actually get the sound in preparing this video for unknown technical reasons. But I'm going to take you on the journey again. So this is the entrance, the main entrance to go into the main stone circle. I mentioned there's about 20 different ones, and actually she's panning the horizon over there, and over in that direction there are more stone circles. Where we are right now, about to enter the stone circle, is Callanish I. Callanish III, which was over to the left. Anyway, every one of them has their own main, specific magic. And as we walk toward the center, I'll tell you more stories, because I was actually here for the first time in 1984. And this is how people are like entering the circle, from the entrance area, moving toward the center. I can tell you that the first time I was there in 1984, there actually was not the same fence around it. And I was there with a friend of mine, and we camped in the middle of the circle. Wait till you see what it's like in the middle of the circle. This entranceway is a stone rose leading this is actually going toward the south. So it's the north behind us, the south in front of us. And we're panning to the horizon, and it turns out off to the left, there is the probably the most remarkable thing about the whole site is this land area. It's like it's a mountain range in the distance that for 6,000, 7,000 years is known as the Kalia, known as the Old Woman of the Moors. And most every element of this large, amazing site is oriented toward that, so that when the moon walks on the land, then basically the different sites are zeroing in on her body. This Callanish I captures the moon at its lowest point, and you can see as we're walking now toward the center, that one large stone in the middle, that standing stone in the middle. This is a circle of 12 stones with one in the middle. I was inspired by doing that for the development of our Faywood Hot Springs stone circle, actually. Was inspired by this. And so you'll notice here that every one of the stones is entirely unique. I know that when I went there for the first time and saw that stone in the middle, I knew that I had seen it before. It was like an old friend. And actually, I'm so this site is so remarkable to me that I've been there 13 times. Actually, I think this trip we're doing in a few months in June is It's my 14th time there. So these are all people that are in the middle. Now that particular portion of the stone circle came in later, maybe 500 years later from when the stones were built. What's really interesting about this stone circle is that for like 1,000 years, half of it, not a half, maybe about a third of it was buried in peat. And it's only fairly recently, in the last couple hundred years, they began clearing it out. And actually, one of the things you can do is you can see on some of the stones where the peat line is, where it was being buried, over like thousands of years. But there it is. There's that center stone, and which actually that stone is used a lot. I mean, it's the same imagery that was created in the Outlander of the TV series. That they were kind of modeling it on this place, but at least with the one stone was made to look like that. So this is an incredibly powerful place. It turns out that I had the great fortune of going there in '84, and then in 1987, when I was there in 1987 and watched the moon walk on the land, that I got to meet a woman named Margaret Curtis. And that's a woman who had been there for like 30, 40 years and had found new circles. She had found stones that were buried in the peat, and she became really intimate with the entire area. And I was there with her in 1987 for a lunar standstill. I was there in 2006 for the next lunar standstill, because you remember these things happen about every 19 years. But unfortunately, she passed away in March of 2023. So I'm very sad I will not be able to get to see her again. She was a remarkable character, a real original human who had done this research to that area. She started out as a very rational, mechanistic kind of scientist, but the more that she was there, she realized, oh yeah, there is something to this whole thing, that the goddess and what was this for? She tuned into it so deeply that she could tell where the buried stone circles were in other areas, and she found a number of them. So you're having a really good sense of how this feels to be there at Callanish I. This video doesn't really show Callanish III, which is where we're going to be doing a sacred marriage ceremony when we're there. But I'm hoping that by you seeing this, that you can get a sense of the magic of this place, because I personally believe it is the master site for the moon magic. And it's only at that latitude, really, that with the moon, when it comes up at the lunar standstill, and not 2024, 2025 is the lunar standstill, happens every 19 years. The moon is a very low arc at that latitude, between 58 and 59 north latitude, where it walks on the land. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you want to get the original narration on it, this does exist on YouTube, so you can look for this. We'll have a link for it, with this video.
So the screen share has stopped, Daniel? Yeah, okay, great. Then we can carry on. Yeah, for me, I almost got drawn in now when watching that. It was like, yeah, let's go tomorrow. We're not quite there yet. So just for people to get a sense of this, this annual gathering that we are planning and gearing up for is going to happen from June 19th to the 26th of 2024. And some of us will already be gathering on the 18th. And if anyone wants to arrive early, that is a possibility. And so maybe, Daniel, you can give us some more details on whatever you would like to add here.
Yes, we actually had run into some challenges about getting the necessary transportation to go to the different places, to have vehicles available so we can, go at any time if we want, if we go out there at midnight to see the moon walk on the land or something. And so we tried to get a coach with a driver, and we're unable to do that. But we have gotten 2 minivans, and we were able to get them out of Glasgow. Now, it turns out that Glasgow is the best place if you're flying in from the US or most parts of the world, I mean, even from Europe, to fly into Glasgow, because you can then, if you fly into Glasgow, you can choose to get a Logan Air flight, and you can get a Logan Air flight either from Edinburgh or from Glasgow or from Inverness. So you could actually go into any of those places and get a flight into Stornoway on the island of Lewis. But if you didn't want to do that, and the flights, there aren't that many seats available, and the flights out of with Logan Air are not, they're not that many, and they could be getting filled up pretty quickly. So we have these other options. If you go into Glasgow, you can, on either the 18th or the 19th, you can ride the minivans up with us. And it's about a 4-hour drive. We'd be leaving at about 10 or 11 in the morning and getting up to the Ullapool, Scotland ferry, and then taking the ferry 2 hours and I think 20-minute ferry ride that goes into Stornoway. And then we will have the vehicles there to take you, well, because the vehicles are going to go across on the ferry with us, So then, and we have a couple of drivers, Naraya being one of them, and we have one of our school members, Jana from Finland, is going to be another driver, and so then we'll be able to take the 20-30-minute drive from the ferry to the hotel. The hotel is about maybe 15 minutes or so from the Stones, so we can easily go back and forth to the Stones and some of the other sites. And on some of the days, there's this remarkable beach that we do ceremony at. We usually do an ancestral ceremony there. We do a sacred marriage ceremony also. There's usually a day that we take people into Stornoway. There's very interesting things you can do in Stornoway. And there's just so many places and times you can just spend on the land there. And so the emphasis here is that we'll have morning meetings and then we'll have outings. And when we don't have an outing in the evening, we'll have the entertainment, as I described before, right? So it'll be a fun gathering. It's not an official specific teaching course. It's not like one of the five courses for graduation, but we will be doing a graduation there. So those that are ready for their graduation, including you, we'll do a foundational graduation ceremony. They're probably on the beach. I think probably at the beach when we go out there, the Boston Beach. So I hope now that you all know, and this is you'll get to see this in, a couple days, or I don't know when it goes out in a blast, and it'd probably be the newsletter also. You'll get to see it there, that we got some openings. If you want to join us, please consider it. This is not going to happen again like this for another 19 years. So high ceremony. And we're now recreating what the ancients did, where it was like what Naraya was describing, like a neolithic Woodstock, that would be the time where the tribes would gather. There would be ways of finding your mate. There would be ways of trade fairs, music fairs, that would all be happening every 19 years at that particular location. When people would be coming from south part of the British Isles, they'd be coming from Ireland, they'd be coming from Faroe Islands, they'd be coming from Norway, Sweden, and people coming from all over for these great festivals of meetups back in matrilineal times, So we're redoing it now.
Well, I really have to chuckle, Daniel, when you said all that. I really would like to really call in this energy for our own gathering, and the way the people were coming from all over. It is now as well. People are coming from all over. They're coming from the States, they're coming from Finland, from Portugal, you're coming all the way from the Philippines. I'll be coming back from Africa for this event. So it really is very much in the same spirit of all these things. And one thing I would like to add before we round this off here and don't make it too long is that obviously we are also having a new student intake at this time for 2024. So anyone who's interested in that can find all these details on the certification tab on our website. And really look into that, because now is the time, and then maybe add that with a live gathering. I couldn't think of any better way to study this paradigm. And one question I still want to ask you, Daniel, if you have a few moments, is you were mentioning a couple of times a sacred marriage ceremony. And for me, that really is an important thing. I'm working on that very deeply with myself right now, as I have certain transits going that are really pointing towards that. And it's also a core foundational part of the foundational certification of 3 core courses, which, by the way, anyone can also take on by itself. So one doesn't have to want to get certified to take any of these courses. Just for the personal development, this is a huge beneficial thing to do. So I want you to maybe elaborate a little bit more on this sacred marriage ceremony.
There's one of the stone circles which is called Callanish III, and it's actually pretty much just walking distance from Callanish I. Although we usually will just take the minivan over there, but some people will walk over there because there's another stone circle you can go past when you walk over there. And it's just this, many people really like it even more than Callanish I. And it's a circle with 4 very distinct stones in the middle. There's a triangular, not an equilateral triangle, but it's a triangle that's exactly as above, so below. If you look up in the summer, you'll see this so-called summer triangle. And there's 3 stars there. And the Deneb and Vega and Altair. And the relationship between those 3 is this very specific arrangement. The stones in the middle of the circle are the exact same arrangement. Now, we've been able to determine that each of those stones has its own distinct color and essence to it. So it's basically the stones that represent the ancient cosmology of the triple goddess. So one of the stones is maiden, one is mother, and one is crone. Okay. Now there's a 4th stone, and it's actually bigger than the other 3, and it's shaped like a crescent moon, and it's green. It's the green man stone, and it stands outside the 3. And so what we've done in the past is that the men and women would gather in the circle. The women would, depending on what they feel called, some might want to be, I want to be the maiden stone, and you'll know that calls to you. Some might want to be in the mother stone, the crone stone. It's very distinct which ones they are. And then the men would generally go over to the green man stone. And then we would do our sacred marriage ceremony, and it would be based on the women inviting the men in, and there would be a way of sharing in a very sacred way the archetypes at that particular time. And we've had some really remarkable things happen there in the past. In fact, in 2019, you probably have heard the stories from Mary on that, is that the night we did that, something like 50, 60 cows came into the circle with us. And it was a combination. It was just every possible type of cow. It wasn't the same, kind of GMO or the same breed. It's like every one of them had different colors, different flavors, whatever. And there were men. There were males. There were bulls as part of it, right? And whoa, why are they here, you know? And so we just relaxed, and they just seemed to want to be with us, you know, as we're doing the ceremony. It was really quite remarkable. I'm sure you'll hear more stories about that when we're there, because, you know, Mary intends to be there. She loves telling the story about it, and so do I. So anyway, hopefully that answers your question.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you for elaborating on that. I'll pop a couple of links in the description of this video below, so whoever is watching and might feel really called can find information about this easily and effortlessly. Is there anything else you would like to add, Daniel?
No, I don't think so. It's just that we do, if you do decide to join us, please let us know as soon as possible so we can know who's going to be arriving in Glasgow, who's going to be going directly to Stornoway, so we can arrange pickups and get you and find out what rooms to book you in, you know. So just be in touch with us as soon as you can, because actually it's only now about
In March,
4 months away.
April, May, June, 3.5 months actually.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
just over 3.5 months.
All right.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all that, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I spoke over you there just now.
Oh, no,
so
no worries. Good. Great. I'm glad we had a chance to do this, and
thank you very much. We look forward to seeing whoever feels called in Callanish.